All right, and recording.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to tonight's virtual speaker series. Our topic tonight is social media and mental health. And I will allow the speakers from Racine County I to introduce themselves and tell a little bit about themselves. My name's Michelle, and I'm the executive director at NAMI in Racine. And this topic sort of came about organically between a conversation that Denise and I had about people's use of social media, especially during COVID, especially during this isolation. So we thought it would be good and good for food. So Allison, if you'd like to introduce yourself also, and then we'll
Oh,
hand it over
sure.
to the panelists.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Well, the people from Racine County, I am Robin. For those of you who don't know, my name is Allison Clark. I work for Michelle at NAMI Racine. I'm the outreach and education coordinator. Um, I help with everything pretty much. I'm glad that we've been doing these speaker panels and that Denise and Katie have agreed to do one for us. So yeah, I'm excited to get things going. We usually will do, we'll have you guys talk for, you know, 20 minutes or however long or whatever. And then we'll leave it open towards the end for if anybody has any questions. Hopefully we'll get a couple more people joining us. But yeah, I'll hand it off to you lovely ladies.
Yes, and welcome, Robin. Glad to have you here. Feel free to chime in anytime you'd like. Okay, Denise and Katie.
I'm on?
Yes, ma'am.
The show started. Okay. So I'm Denise Lockwood. I own the Racine County iNews website. And we've been around for about 7 years. I've been a journalist for 20 years. Prior to that, I used to work for Patch, which was owned by America Online. And one of the things that I've always been very mindful of is the interaction that we get to have and participate in with our readers. So this was a really important topic for me, not just as a journalist, but me as a human and me as a business owner as well. Especially since COVID, and it's not just COVID, but it's something that I've been watching on my news feed as far as my Facebook feed, because I'm the kind of almost voyeuristic a little bit to kind of see what people are talking about and how they're kind of taking in storylines. And one of the things that I've noticed is really how ramped up people get. But I was looking at it through the lens of people's mental health. And it's almost like I could literally see people going through like the stages of grief around losing their social life and their support network. And how do we struggle with and be okay when we're in isolation or we've got very limited kind of human contact. So I've seen a lot of what I would probably term as more toxic behavior, but I also see some really interesting things kind of now that we're settling in on, what we need to be doing to keep ourselves safe. But also, I thought it would be really helpful to my readers to really look at their own mental health when they're online, because it's super important and I really care a lot about my readers. So Katie is my daughter, so she can tell you a little bit about her because she actually works for me.
Hi, I'm Katie Knopf. So yeah, I work for Denise as kind of just do a bunch of random stories for like whenever we get press releases, and then I also usually do a map for the property transfers, and I do a lot of grant writing as well to help keep us afloat and things. Mental health has always been a huge thing for me. I grew up with like anxiety and depression, so I kind of have firsthand experience with that. So
Yeah. So I'm going to kind of go through some of our presentation here a little bit. So like when we first started in social media, probably I back in the day, like in 2008, 2009 is probably when I first started really kind of getting into social media as a platform for the news making process. And it was very, very nice. And it was like my little pretty picture on my rose. And it was like the greatest thing because I could actually deliver news to people that cared deeply about the news. And then it really kind of transpired into a lot different things. So when you have a news product, you're putting that information on a platform, which is like Facebook or Twitter or Pinterest or whatever, and then you have this conversation about it. And I've always really appreciated all of the readers that I have in how we talk about the stories that we put out there. And one of the things that I've always wanted to make sure that we have is a really safe place, a really welcoming place to have a good conversation. And so, like literally, I don't just want to create really great news, but I also want to have really strong, honest conversation. So this is part of helping people accomplish that. But really, one of the things that I noticed was this is actually what's happening. Like when I look at my news feed, it's just a giant fight all of the time. And I've watched how people pull information in and the memes and the conspiracy theories. And I think we need to have a really good conversation around what that looks like and what it feels like from a mental health standpoint. Because I can tell you over the last last 5-6 months that at the end of the day, I've been really concerned about how people are doing from a mental health standpoint. I have a lot of business owner friends that are in the process of losing their business, or they've decided to shut down. And I've got a lot of people that have lost their jobs, and they're all of those feelings are playing out in social media. And so I've been really worried and kind of concerned about this. So one of the issues that I think that we have, and I'm going to kind of go back here. So one of the opportunities I actually think is what is an opinion and what is a fact, but also understanding and valuing other people's opinions, but they also need to be based on what is fact. And one of the problems in covering COVID is that the facts have been changing, and it changes so fast. Sometimes it was changing hourly, and we would have to catch up, and then we would get blasted on my Facebook page for being fake news. And and it wasn't like I had any malintent. I just want to make sure people are okay too. So like one of the things that how this played out is just a really strong example of this was the whole concept of masks. So we ended up doing a whole series of stories. I think even Katie was working on some things around masks and how to find them and what to wear and what not to wear and how to wear it. And so we started this series around like getting the highest and best information around this. But then it just kind of took a whole nother life, because then the conversation was around the policy around communities, whether or not they were going to mandate masks or not mandate masks. So one of the things that happened was you had these really politically charged conversations that really weren't based on facts. And so that's one of the things that I really wanted to kind of go over was what is a fact and what is an opinion, but also Katie's going to talk a little bit about mental health as far as how she's been able to kind of preserve her own mental health. So there's kind of two layers to this. So opinions are just that they're a viewpoint, a judgment that is formed about something, and it's not necessarily based on fact or knowledge. It's how you feel about the thing. But the problem that I've seen is that we don't have a shared understanding of what the thing is. And so, what is COVID? What is it to me? How do I feel about it? How disruptive has it been in my life? Those are really heady, big things that we're all dealing with. So there's some choices that we've had to make. And so Katie's kind of going to talk a little bit about some of the choices that she's made and how, what that actually looks like as far as mental health, and how she's kind of been handling her own side of the fence with COVID, because she's tired of her mom talking about it constantly.
Yep.
So sorry, 1 second, ladies. I don't know if you saw the chat from Robin. She just brought up a good point. Like you were just talking about, Denise, about how everything with masks has been hard because, again, a lot of the information out there is changing still. So it's very hard to keep up. So I just wanted to point that out.
Because I can't see the chats on mine so if there's other chats,
okay.
yeah, let me know. Yeah,
Sure.
Things have definitely changed, and they changed. There's so, like, science is not an A to B kind of a linear thing. In fact, Katie's got a science degree. She'll tell you a little bit about, like, just the scientific process that whole how do we get to know what we know piece of this. So, at first we were told not to wear masks, then we were told to wear masks, then we were trying to say, okay, N95 versus surgical masks. And so my job as a journalist is to sift through that and really understand and take a step back and say, what is the highest and best information, knowing that at the end of the day, in 2 weeks, it may not be the thing, right? But I think we also have to say to ourselves, is the source of our information really the highest and best information? And having a good critical eye on that, and that's a whole nother subject. But, like, it's really overwhelming. It's overwhelming for me to write. I mean, there have been times where I've been working 12, 14-hour days and trying to keep up with things because I want to help. At the end of the day, I want to help keep people safe, right?
Right, exactly.
So Katie can kind of talk a little bit about, we're gonna segue into.
Okay.
Sure, yeah, go for it.
So for me, to protect my mental health when it comes to, like, COVID and all that, what I do is, I mean, I really don't have a lot of COVID stuff on my news feed. I think it's because I don't really go looking for it, because whatever just pops up I look at. And I just listen to, like, what the people around me read, basically. So, like, what my mom posts, I read a lot of that. And then I'll follow, like, the scholarly articles that it goes to typically. And then as well as my boyfriend tells me a lot of what he reads, and I listen to that and I make my own educated opinion based on that. If I want to find the information myself, I just go looking for it. I mean, I have a degree, so I know how to find, like, scholarly articles so that it's actually based on, like, facts from actual scientists. And I think a lot of the issue with the topic is that it is changing a lot, and people don't understand the fact that science is ever changing. People think, oh, well, it's science, it's tested, that's it, it's done. No, the whole point of science is to come up with a theory, test it, and figure out if you're right or wrong. And so people just need to understand, like, the newest information is what you should be following. And usually when I don't know, I just tend to share stuff that's more lighthearted so that people can get their break for the day.
What do you share?
A lot of flowers and bees, and puppies, usually.
She had a thing on, I think it was like a video or a photo, like, of just
bee butts.
Yeah. And then I also actually share a lot about mental health too, because it's something that impacts my life a lot, having depression, and I also have bipolar disorder. So that impacts my life a lot. I mean, not as much now that I have started medication, but it still does. And so I just have to be very present and check in with myself and make sure that I'm in a headspace to comment on some things. Like sometimes I'll see people arguing, and I have to think if what I have to say is actually going to be beneficial, and actually make sure I say it in a productive tone and not just like calling each other's names, because it's very unproductive and does nothing. And I usually try to offer solutions, which I know my mom says that a lot. I don't think it really comes from her like alone. I think there's many other things where, like, I don't know, throughout my life, I've just always been geared towards finding solutions and not just like talking about problems, because it really doesn't do much to just keep talking about it. And I'm not a huge political person as well, at least lately. I used to post a lot more, but I just kept seeing so much changing information that I just wanted to wait. I'm kind of waiting until it like calms down to kind of get more back into my political opinions, I guess, because I feel like there's too much stuff going on to really base my opinion on at the moment. So that's a lot of that. I don't really know what else to add at the moment. If there's any questions, you can certainly ask.
Yeah. So I did come up with just some ideas of like, how do you kind of protect your mental health? I call it the bubble. And so one of the things that I've been doing is really checking in with myself before I even get online. I'll sometimes ask, and in fact, I've been teaching Katie this for a long time. So it's like, okay, are you hungry, angry, lonely, or tired? And if you're any one or all of those things, then you need to stop and address those issues, because when, or actually if I'm like really tired, I know that I kind of have a funny little term for it, and I call it the news hangover. So if I'm in news hangover, like I've written so many stories that my brain just hurts, then I need to take a step back and take care of myself first. So that's one thing that I do. Another thing that I do is I set an intention, is what am I looking to get out of conversations with people? Because if you're on my personal Facebook wall, that is different than Denise, the news person, and Denise, the business person. So my intention oftentimes is to make sure that I'm talking a lot more about the highest and best information. And sometimes I get perceived as like some know-it-all that just like has all of these opinions. And I actually literally put all of my source information into my posts. Another thing that I've really kind of developed is a better sense of boundaries, that those boundaries that I have are for me, not for you. But if you, like, there are times where people are just calling me names on my Facebook wall, on my personal wall, and that's where I express my humanness. And if that is offensive to you, I mean, I don't think I'm offensive. I'm really working on just presenting really strong information. But if that's not your brand, that's not your brand, and that's okay. But I'm not going to tolerate people just calling me names on my personal Facebook wall. It's just not a thing. So if you aren't a political person, make your wall a politics-free zone, right? That's your space. And the other piece is, like, if you're really feeling overwhelmed, limit your screen time. Make sure you're getting enough sleep, because that has a massive impact on what happens to your mental health. I mean, that's one thing that I'm always looking at am I sleeping well? And most of the time I am, but not all of the time. So I want to make sure that I've got my highest and best brain on so that I can make sure that I'm using all of the tools that I have of journalism in the best, most effective way. So if you guys have any other questions, is this helpful?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't really, let's see. I don't have any questions necessarily because well, I mean, obviously working for NAMI, but then, and I'm very open about it, and I know Katie knows, I have my own mental health issues. And so, I mean, when all this started, with COVID and everything, I would say like both my anxiety and depression got worse, but I think it was more, I mean, at first it was kind of like anxiety because, fear of the unknown. And then it was more depression because, I wasn't able to work as much and you're not able to see people as often, like my family that, like lives in Chicago. So, and then the other part of it too is like, with my anxiety and stuff, and because I'm a very empathetic person, I was worrying, not just about me, but about my family, about the people who would come to support groups that couldn't come to support groups anymore, even though we're having them virtually. And, people who have never had mental health issues before are starting to have them now because it has been such a traumatic thing because nobody necessarily saw it coming, or the impact that it was going to have. And like just the volume and the depth of it, and how long it's been going on. And then again, too, like the changing of the information and trying to keep up with that. And it's just one thing after another.
Yeah.
So it has been really hard to stay on top of things and to keep up with everything and, go through, the motions, go through your normal day-to-day things, without being distracted by them and everything else that's going on. And then let's see, Robin said she agrees with what you ladies are talking about. She said, I do the same thing with boundaries and setting ones for myself. Let my Facebook friends, family, loved ones know if they're out of line. She said, they are out of here, or they are out of there. And then she said it was very helpful. So that's good. Yeah, so it's hard. It's just,
It is hard.
no way around it. It's just,
Well, and it impacts so much of our lives on so many different levels. So
right.
some of the things that when I'm on our Monday morning team meetings, I'm usually have okay, how do we help the community? So we've got resource pages around where you can go to get a free meal, where to get energy assistance, where to get help with evictions, or rent assistance. And so
Are those on your Facebook page or the website?
so those are
or
on our wall on the
Okay.
RacineCountyEye.com page. And
Okay.
so on the right hand rail is there's also a just a primer on what child abuse and neglect are.
Okay, great.
Things, so we're really thinking a lot about how do we help the community, because at the end of the day, that's the kind of journalism that I want to make sure that we're doing.
Absolutely.
Because this is not the sexy stuff.
No, right.
But it's the most helpful things, because the biggest thing we can do is stay connected in the ways that are really helpful to us.
Yeah, no, 100%. Because this is what's going on. This is the information that people need. It's it's not like we're necessarily putting our lives on hold, but kind of in a way we certain things we had to, like with trips and seeing family and things like that. So it's this is what, at least to me, I think people need to focus on. And then Robin just said again, she said, I don't tolerate any kind of meanness, nasty, or comments, name calling from anyone. need peace and zen on my page. Yeah, absolutely. And I, you know, not just, and I noticed for you guys on Facebook and a lot of news outlets, because again, things have been changing, and or even with, you know, all the racial stuff that's been a lot more heightened. It's been hard because there can be misinformation with that too, just like anything else. And now the political race that's going on, and so it's just,
Oh, it's fun.
I can't
Yes.
even, I see it on my page, and so I, you know, then I'm like, you got to stop looking at this. But I can't imagine, and that's why I commend people who work in the news and work in media and whatever else, that they, you know, continue to keep going, because it's, I mean, it's just got to be just so defeating sometimes.
Yeah.
You have to deal with that constantly, and then deal with your own mental health and your own personal things on top of it. So it's just, oh, it's so hard, but it's, I'm glad, you know, we have people like you doing that hard work, because if we didn't, you know, we'd be even more lost. So that's, thank you.
And
Yeah.
no problem. One of the other things that I really do recommend, you kind of touched on that, is if it's too overwhelming, just shut it off. I mean, honestly, I would love for everybody to be on my page all of the time. And I do need that, but on the other hand, I want people to be okay. And if it's getting too much, by all means, turn it off, tune it out, come back when you're in a different place. And it may be a while. Some other sources of information that are really good, that are not news sources, that I use for primary documentation for the news, is just like the local health department. So the county has a really good dashboard, and they do briefings, and they've got a really great toolkit for everything from dealing with child care, and there's a lot. And I think one of the things that I really want to make sure that people understand is this isn't going to go away. So
right. That's, people keep saying,
Yeah.
like, when this is over, and it's like, you know, of course we all want it to be over now, but unfortunately, like, you know, like Katie was saying with science, like, stuff doesn't just end. And even once, you know, there is a vaccine, it's gonna be, I mean, it could be another 2 years, it could be another 5 years before, I mean, hopefully, you know, now with the mask mandates, we at least start seeing some numbers going down.
Well, you're starting to see that a little bit. It's starting to flatten out a little. Is it enough? No. But I think we've got to like all figure out what this means to us, right?
Yeah.
And so when you're looking at those numbers on a daily basis, this is actually one of the reasons why I don't post them on Facebook all of the time. I might do one story every week or every other week around like how many numbers there are. Because I in the fall, from what my sources are telling me, that for the next few weeks it'll probably continue to go down, which is really good because we kind of need a little break, right? But when people start doing things indoors, and in the fall when we all kind of get closer together, that's going to be like the trigger point. But if you know that's coming, if you know that's something that indoor air is much more problematic than outdoor air, then maybe you change your behavior. So like we've got, I'm going to be publishing a risk chart of like certain things that are more high risk than not. And I think that's going to be super helpful, because like going kayaking is super fun and it's outside and it's very low risk. Going out to a nightclub, not recommended at all. You know, so it's the knowledge, it's seeking out knowledge that you need to be safe.
And I think making
smart choices.
This is kind of where we rely on you and on each other. So I mean, I just started my role at NAMI in January. So it's been very kind of vulnerable and unpredictable as far as, I think we ask the same questions that you do, Denise, as far as what can we do to serve the community. So right now we're pretty much all virtual. And I mean, we just want to make sure that, we get the resources to the people who need them. So, thank you for your knowledge here and your teamwork and your willingness to help us do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It makes a big difference.
Yeah, it does. Because again, it's whether it's, even if there wasn't a pandemic going on, it's, it's so important to reach out to each other, not just like if you're struggling, because reaching out can be hard when you're struggling, but reminding people to check on each other, and it's hard to not get caught up in your own stuff, especially right now. So yeah, reaching out to people, checking resources, reaching out about what resources to look at and which ones to avoid. And then let's see, Robin said,
thank you, Robin. Thanks.
Yeah, she said, I don't live on social media. I live on my mental health, if that makes sense. And when I need to stop social media, I certainly feel better and sleep better. And then she wanted to say too, this is a great resource I found, and thank you ladies for doing this. So that's nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's just, there's a lot of, she said, I feel odd since I'm the only one here. Well, that's okay.
Oh, not really. I mean,
More than none.
No, I mean, and plus, I mean, at NAMI, we work there, but we're also members of NAMI too. So we're
right.
learning just as much with everybody. So we don't see it as just having, one guest. I mean, we're all
right
members and we're all participants. So
yeah.
Well, and also this video is being recorded, but it's also going to be posted on the Racine County Eye page. So it's going to have a life afterwards as well.
And that's why we wanted to do it this way, so that people, they weren't able to make it tonight, they can still access it. So there's just, I would rather overwhelm people with information than not, like I'd rather there be too much of this, like these resources, than not. So I'm glad that we have this.
Sure. Yeah. And Robin's asking to say just a few things about herself. So yes, please.
Yeah.
Please do.
Let's see. You can always unmute too, Robin, if you'd rather do it that way. Or I can admit. Oh, looks like we have somebody else joining us now.
Yep, there we go.
Okay. Can you guys hear me?
A little
Yeah,
bit.
we can hear you, Robin.
Yeah, there we go. I'm gonna turn volume up. Yeah, got it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that, I'm here because, well, first of all, I've been a certified peer specialist since 2015. I've been volunteering at the Friendship Clubhouse.
Great.
Working with Linnell. And, I was at a very dark place in my life at that time. I struggle and live with major depression and social anxiety, panic disorder, PTSD, and I can't even remember. I have a long list of things. And Linnell had referred me to this training program for peer specialists, and she told me, call Luann, talk to her, and bug her until she gets back to you. And so I didn't really know what I was doing. I just knew it was a good thing. And so I finally got a hold of Luann, and I did get accepted into the training and went through it and learned so much. It was so interesting to me. And I still didn't understand why I was chosen for that training, why Linnell had said that to me. It took me a long time to kind of figure it out. And, and I asked her at some point, and she said, because Robin, I saw you. I didn't see your mental illnesses. I saw you underneath. And so now, 5 years later, I'm finally understanding that because now it's just a part of me. Being a peer specialist, it's not a title for me, it's just who I am. And so it comes very naturally to me, and I enjoy that very much. Now, this next year, I'm going to recertify again. I've recertified, this will be my third time, and I have not been able to find a job doing that. But I haven't been real stable to even volunteer for a long time. But I keep recertifying because in hopes that I'm going to be able to find a job doing that at some point. And I just, I'm finding a lot of training opportunities lately to sign up for my continuing education credits, but also I'm finding as I'm participating in those that it's just cool to learn more stuff and to hear other people's experiences and different point of views, different things that I learned in the training and in my hours that I've put in. I just was in a conference. I can't think of the name of it at this point, but it was last week. That was very interesting. And then I also have a strong interest, passion for suicide prevention, which was also something that I did the extra training for, and when I was with Luann. And I have a lot of lived experience with suicide attempts, um, thoughts, feelings, and also with a lot of people in my life that have taken their lives, and in particular, my brother. And 3 years ago, my best friend took his life, which both of those just kind of blasted my world apart. And it's been very, very difficult to, recover from those. I know I'll never get over it, but I just somehow get through it. And so I spend a lot of time helping other people, friends and family. My son struggles with suicidal thoughts. And so while I haven't been able to work and, get a paycheck, to me, it is rewarding in itself to just know that even if I saved or helped one person to not take their life, they come to me. I don't really reach out to other people. If I see, signs of it, I want to help them, but I also don't want to push it, so like I said, people come to me, they know I'm a peer specialist, they know that I am good at what I do. And I also, I think Katie was saying about how on her page she shares information about mental health, which I do as well. I do that a lot. And, not everyone can deal with that. I talk about the hard stuff, but I also, I let people know that this is what I do. This is a passion of mine. And if you don't like it, well, scroll by it, you know. And again, like I said, I don't tolerate any kind of crap, especially when it comes to, me talking about mental illness or suicide prevention. I just signed up for another conference, which is in September, on suicide prevention. And it's going to be difficult for me, it's rough to talk about it. And I'm still grieving, my brother and my best friend and a lot of other people that I've lost in my life to suicide. Um, so, but I feel like I need to do it not only for myself, but for my brother, for my best friend, and anyone else who I can help with that, because I know how many people struggle with that and can't talk about it, hold it in, the whole stigma around it. And that especially now with COVID, I just read somewhere that there's a higher, I can't think of the word, more suicides now because of COVID and the struggles of people, with their mental health getting worse. And so, I'm sorry, I kind of lost where I was going with that. Um, I just want to let you guys know, and I worked with NAMI throughout my training and with Luann and Linnell, and um, I just was in contact with them because they started their own business. You guys probably know them. Um, and so I've been talking to them a little bit about training opportunities and just things like that. So again, um, being a peer specialist to me is just really, really rewarding and important, um, to be able to help other people. And right now, when we're talking about self-care, this conference I was in last week, every breakout session, they were saying, first thing, take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. And I struggle with self-care as it is, but it's starting to click. Like, okay, yeah, I can't help anyone else. If I don't put on my oxygen mask, how am I going to help anyone else? And I had a really hard day yesterday with my son who was feeling suicidal and trying to help him through that. And at the end of the day, I realized that I had totally exhausted myself and I could not do anything else. I just had to stop everything and take care of me, um, and not do any more talking, not do any more listening. And that's kind of carried over into today, because now I have this hangover type thing from, I don't know how to explain it.
Like an emotional hangover. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's definitely a thing. Well, thank you, Robin, for sharing. We appreciate it. I'm glad that you still want to help people, because everybody needs that despite what you've been struggling with. I think that's awesome. I just want to let you know, and we do like to now, because we've been talking about COVID and mental health and sharing resources. We do have support groups. They're still virtual right now. Every Wednesday, next month we'll be going to every other Wednesday, but every Wednesday at 2:00 via Zoom, we have just our general peer support group through NAMI. And we don't have any like licensed counselors. It's just a support group. We have some facilitators. I co-facilitate that group. So that's somewhere where you can come and talk to people if you'd like. We have a teen group too that we've got going on. We have a family support group as well. We have that information on our website and our Facebook page, but you can always also, reach out to us at the office. That's an option as well. So if you want more information, let us know. But again, thank you for sharing. And I just want to say hi to CJ. Thanks for joining us. I know you missed some stuff, but I do want to let you know that all these speaker panels that we've been having are recorded. So they will be up on our YouTube page, and then the lovely ladies from Racine County I will be putting it on their website as well, so you can get more information. Ladies, is there anything else you wanted to add? Any last advice maybe for resources or anything you'd like to share?
So just one other thought is that Facebook actually also has meeting rooms. So if you want to have conversations that are very controlled, that's something that you can always do. And I think that that's something that if you only want certain people in the bubble, use those.
I'll add for me as someone who struggles with mental health, when I have my emotional hangover, I tend to just rewatch a TV show that I've already watched because I don't have to like think about it or really pay attention to it. I've already seen it.
I do the same thing.
I do the same thing too.
Here's an
Every time.
idea if anyone didn't know that.
Oh yeah,
The
nope.
same thing.
They said that with like anxiety too. That's always like good too because you already know what's going to happen. So
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
easy to rewatch, The Office and Parks and Rec
Yep.
several times
Office.
over.
That's
You
mine.
know what's going to happen. So it's a comfort for sure. All
Mhm.
right. Anybody else have any questions? Anything else they'd like to? We're getting kind of close to wrap up. So just kind of leaving it open for anybody.
Thanks, DJ.
Hey, y'all.
Hey.
I wish I knew more what happened. I'd share if I knew something.
Well, we're gonna share it
Mhm.
on the Racine County Eye, and she's also gonna have it on YouTube too.
Mhm.
Okay, fair enough.
All
Just a little
right.
bit late.
That's all right.
No worries.
That's all right.
Cool. Thank you for having us, by the
Right.
way.
Yes.
Thanks
Thank
for
you so
hosting.
much.
Yeah.
All the information, everything else. Michelle,
Mhm.
anything else? Do you want to add
No, I
anything?
just wanted to say thank you. And again, I think especially in the virtual world these days, it's important to team up like this. So
Yeah.
any way we can support your work and we can
Yeah.
work together, just,
For you
please
ladies,
continue
yeah.
to
We'd
let
love
us
to
know.
collaborate.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks. It was good to see you ladies.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
Take
All
care.
right, everybody. Yes, thank
Bye.
you, Robin, for joining.
Thanks, Robin. Thanks, TJ.
All right.
Um,
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.